Ashton sent me this link from Atlanta Black Star that's giving an update or more information about the incident that involved this woman here whose name is Ashanti Smith. Now, to bring you up to speed in case y'all don't know who she is the black security guard that was working during the whole invasion at the Capitol. And basically she got into it with this palm-colored woman named Teresa Duke and some of her palm-colored family members, where she was defending herself and she knocked that wig back off of that Teresa Duke, and she ended up getting penalized for it. So there's some more information that came out. And by the way, her GoFundMe is just like a NASA rocket at this point. Like the overwhelming amount of support that she's getting is amazing, and I love it. But let's get into this. It's been more than 2 weeks since an ill-mannered Trump supporter called hands at the Black Lives Matter Plaza in Washington, D.C. A thudding dose of corrective consequence struck one of the former president's loyalists squarely in the face during a January 5th protest. So this was the night before. Let me correct myself. This was the night before what happened on January 6th. It came courtesy of Ashanti Smith, age 28, a licensed unarmed special police officer who works near the White House. Smith, who was black, was seen on camera landing a flush punch that left Teresa Duke's face leaking. She fired on Duke after the white Trump lover tried to snatch Smith's cell phone out of her hand. Video of Smith and Duke's skirmish quickly went viral on social media, to the delight of many, including Duke's own daughter. But for Smith, and by the way, the reason why Teresa Duke's daughter was actually excited about this is because apparently her daughter is a part of the academy and doesn't approve of her lifestyle. And she even came out and said so much to the effect of, well, yeah, that's my mother. She was the one that pointed out her mother. She said, yeah, that's my mother. And, she doesn't approve of my lifestyle, so I approve of what happened to her. And basically said all kinds of stuff, like she really went in on her own mother. But hey, it is what it is. But for Smith, it was a life-altering moment with a twofold fallout that proved both good and bad. On one hand, Smith was arrested following the incident and now faces a misdemeanor assault charge for which she could be fined $1,000 and spend 6 months in jail. She's been suspended from her security job without pay and demonized by a multitude of conservatives. But Smith, who maintains she was acting in self-defense, has also felt a global embrace. People worldwide have sent her messages of support. Many of those well wishes have come with donations. A GoFundMe page that Smith started to raise money for her legal fees and living expenses has raised more than $246,000 by January 25th. It's definitely a surprise. Smith told Atlanta Black Star on Friday, "It's overwhelming. I just get so many messages. Even when people, if they can't support, they just send me words of encouragement. It helps me keep going. Sometimes when I can't sleep, I might go and just try to read the messages and respond to people and just thank them. Even if they can't send much, like they say, it's not even about the money. The support means a lot." Before insurrectionists stormed and breached the U.S. Capitol on January 6th in an effort to thwart Joe Biden's victory over Donald Trump, a legion of protesters swarmed the streets of the nation's capital. Trump supporters gathered in a show of support for the outgoing president that lasted late into the night on January 5th. According to a court affidavit, the incident between Smith and Duke unfolded shortly after 10 p.m. at the BLM Plaza, about 2 blocks north of the White House. Smith ventured out on her lunch break and was taking photographs of the crowds. She was filming on her cell phone when Anne Lorenz, Duke's sister, approached and asked to be her friend. That's so random and so weird. Duke's sister Smith said she politely declined the 52-year-old woman's gesture. Lorenz was with a group of 5 people who were heavily intoxicated and not wearing face masks. Duke was a part of the group. They began following Smith and asking about her political affiliations. They wondered aloud why she was filming and hurled racial slurs at her. When Smith said she didn't vote for Biden or Trump, Lorenz began accusing her of being a member of Antifa, an anti-fascism political movement that's reviled by Trump and his supporters. So listen to that. We just actually found out something very interesting. So because they asked her what her political affiliations was, and she said she did not vote for neither candidate, being Biden or Trump, they now accuse her of being a part of Antifa. If she had said that she was a Biden supporter, they probably would have said she was a part of BLM. And speaking of BLM, isn't that interesting how this Lorenz chick, who was the sister to Teresa Duke, said that she must have been a part of Antifa, but then after Ashanti Smith punched Teresa Duke, she accused her of being a part of BLM. Interesting. Police records show the small clan bumped and grabbed Smith. They tried to take her mask off, attempted to snatch her phone from her hands, and remove her keys from her pocket. So they basically tried to steal from her. So they basically assaulted her and tried to be, theft. And it was theft the minute that she snatched her phone. And attempted robbery when they tried to take her keys. One of the men in the group even assaulted her, she said. I asked them, were they trying to rob me? I didn't know what was going on, Smith said. A Metro police officer saw Smith, who was wearing her uniform, being harassed by the group. The officer grabbed her and pulled her in, protecting her behind a police barricade that was separating the throng of Trump demonstrators and counter-protesters. After a few minutes, the officer let Smith go and told her to head back to work. But when he released Smith into the crowd, Lorenz and company surrounded her again. It was basically like they targeted me and were just waiting on standby for me to leave. They continued to lob racially charged death threats, and the crowd grew larger as Smith tried to walk away. It was commotion from that second encounter that attracted the attention of a Freedom News TV photographer who began filming the video clip that went viral. They were pulling me from different directions, they were screaming racial slurs, and someone hawked spit on me before the video that you all saw. And that's probably what really made her get in someone's face. See, spitting is one of the worst things you can do. And in that moment right there, she probably felt like she was in the middle of Jim Crow 1960s, because that's what reading this, you would think that it happened back in the 60s, but no, it happened just a couple weeks ago in 2021. So I'm trying to leave. I'm getting enclosed by everyone. I don't know who's pulling me from any direction. I'm in fear for my life. Then somebody spits on me. Then the video started. And that's when you see Miss Duke trying to grab my phone. The clip showed Duke swipe at Smith twice, attempting to yank her cell phone away. Her hand brushed across Smith's face. Smith responded by turning toward Duke and delivering a straight right hand that busted the woman's nose and left her face bloody. I defended myself with one hit. I stepped away and tried to back out of the crowd. Richard Lorenz, a man standing next to Duke, took a swing at Smith before 3 men in the crowd grabbed her and dragged her to the nearby police line. A few seconds after they reached the barricade, Ann Lorenz came from behind and struck Smith in the back of the head. Officers used pepper spray to disperse the crowd and again whisked Smith behind the barricade for protection. Ann Lorenz was arrested and charged with assault. Smith says she went back to work, cleaned up, and finished her shift. When she got off work, she returned to the scene to retrieve a few items she lost during the earlier chaos. But while she was at work, Duke reported that Smith assaulted her. Duke claimed Smith was filming her and she confronted a special police officer, according to arrest reports. By the time Smith returned, the detectives had already watched the video. Officers on the police line returned Smith's items. As she returned to leave, a detective ran up and questioned her. Minutes later, he arrested her, despite objections from officers who witnessed the encounters. She was taken to a holding cell overnight and went before a judge the following afternoon. When she was finally released at about 2 p.m., the Capitol riots were in full swing. Smith didn't realize at the time that the Capitol about 12 miles away was under siege, or that her punch from the previous night had gone viral. She had no phone, and her job would not let her back on the premises to get her car keys. She found a few days later it was because she'd been suspended pending the outcome of the investigation. Smith was forced to wander the chaotic streets for hours until she could call someone to give her a ride home. She said a few protesters recognized her from the viral video, but no one bothered her. I bet they didn't. They saw that hit and was like, nah, we ain't messing with her. She got a mean right hook or a mean right whatever, and she'll knock us back too. I just tried to keep my head down and walk as fast as I could, she said. I didn't try to make eye contact and just find my way, and I tried to ask certain pieces for directions. Some people were helpful, some I just didn't know I could approach. Smith has had weeks to reflect on her ordeal, and she indicated she sought therapy for the lingering effects of what she endured that night. To be honest, it mentally broke me. I've been unstable in a sense. I haven't been able to really eat or sleep, Smith said on the ordeal. I think I'm semi-paranoid, not really paranoid. There's a lot of thoughts that run through my mind because I don't really know who's around or who might be against me. I reached out to seek therapy. It's been hard on some days because it does take its toll. Now listen to that. She says she's still feeling the effects of what happened to her a couple weeks ago. She says she has to plan to go to see a therapist. Like, that really messed her up. Conservative media outlets portray Duke as the innocent victim of an unprovoked attack, but many sided with Smith, saying Duke reaped the karma of her own actions. Of course they were going to say that. One of those people was Duke's 18-year-old daughter, Helena, who outed her mother and aunt and uncle to the FBI. Smith says she's been in contact with Helena Duke, who's expressed her support. "Hi, Mom," and this is what she said. "Hi, Mom, remember the time you told me I shouldn't go to the BLM protest because they could get violent? Is this you?" And she retweeted the video that got liked over 426,000 times and commented over 81,000 times. So let me go back and retract what I said about the daughter. I thought the daughter was in the academy. At least that's how I took it. But she's basically getting back at the mother because she said that she couldn't go to the BLM protest because they would be violent. Yet here she is at a non-BLM protest and it got violent because of her. Well, she was a part of it. Meanwhile, Teresa Duke was a caregiver at the University of Massachusetts. Again, we are in Massachusetts. Memorial Healthcare, but the hospital announced in a January 8th statement that she was no longer employed there. Smith remained humbled by the support she's gotten, saying it's given her motivation to keep fighting through the trauma of her experience. She also insisted she was only trying to defend herself. "I don't even call it violence when it's self-defense," her Instagram page states. "I call it intelligence." Smith made it a point to highlight her stance. "I do not want people to think that I support violence or any of that. I'm just not for hate crime," she said. "I don't want people to go out and do anything crazy. We need to change the narrative because they already look at us as the aggressors. So we need to change the narrative. That's the best way possible to show them that we're better than what they labeled us as." Well, I kind of have to disagree with her on that last part. In my opinion, she did it, and it's kind of hard to take her, I guess you can say, seriously of her saying that after she hit that woman, in which she had every right to do, to defend herself. She had every right to do that. But to come back and kind of say that as if no one else is going to do the same thing, if the same thing was happening to them, I can't really agree with that standpoint. But, she did what she had to do. She was defending herself against this hornet's nest that she got caught up in, unfortunately. But that's pretty much the update. It was just basically going into more detail about what happened that night that they didn't really cover the first go around. And I'm glad that she's still getting support. And it's messed up that her job fired her, but I'm not surprised that they did either. They need to also make sure that this Teresa Duke got fired as well, and then they didn't just say that she's no longer employed there. They need to make sure that she doesn't get employed anywhere else either. But y'all let me know what y'all think about. And the same thing needs to happen to that sister as well. The one that hit her in the back of the head like a little bitch. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Please text the number that is linked down below, and in order to receive all notifications, and I will talk to you in the next one.